Hey YouTube, Ryan here. It's been a while since I've made my last video. I've been pretty busy with exams and stuff at school. I decided to go ahead and do a review on my enlan el01. I've looked at a lot of the other reviews and I really can't find anything that I disagree with. They all basically talk about, the quality of the knife. I think this is really the best buy that I've been able to find as far as quality versus, the dependability of the knife. Couple of things I've done to it before we get into the performance of it. First of all, this jimping that we see is really a little different than it came from the factory. You see it's actually carried through onto the G10. Let me back that up a little bit. Anyway, it's carried through onto the G10 instead of just in the liner. When I got the knife, it was just in the liner, so I decided to bring it over onto the G10, onto the rest of the knife. I modified the flipper a little bit, just basically just ground into the top of it so it's got a little more aggressive tip to catch the finger. Of course, that's rounded to keep it from hurting your finger at all. And then, of course, I've done the wave modification. That you can, I see that done a lot on a lot of the el01s that I've seen reviewed, especially on Jobin's channel. He'll do this for you if you order it from him. Put the lanyard on there, just a little nut on the end, just for a little extra grip. Nothing fancy. It's tip up carry. It's got a pretty good clip on there with 3 screws, so it's very secure. I also did an etch job on the blade. I don't know if you can see it in this lighting. Yeah, you can see it alright. But basically, watch some of Jobin's tutorials on how to do this with the PCB etchant. Same stuff you get at Radio Shack. It's basically what they use to etch circuit boards. And then the edge is it's kind of modified from the factory. I've put a slight convex edge on it just to enable it to be easier to strop the edge instead of sharpening every time you want to touch it up. And I'd probably say Gavco's got the best instructional video on how to do that with a disc sander on just a basic household drill most people have laying around. And then cut across the pivot screw there. And one more thing, this is kind of just for fun, not really anything functional, but I've watched a couple of the videos on the Spyderco Navaja and the little sound making device that it has in there with the ratchet or whatever sound it is, and figured I could probably do basically the same thing. So I just opened it up and scored the track that the detent ball had worn into the blade. And so now when you flip it, I don't know if you can probably hear that over the camera. It's pretty loud. It kind of has a ratcheting sound to it also when you close it. The reason I decided to do that with this knife is because honestly, this is the smoothest flipper I have ever owned. It takes almost no effort to get this thing to just fly open, and so I figured, if I was going to do it to any knife, just as kind of an experiment to see if it works, I would do it to this one, just because this one's got a lot of play in there where I wasn't really worried about slowing the blade down too much because it just flies open so easily. And sure enough, once I put it in there, it really didn't slow the blade down much at all. I kept it out of about the first quarter of the blade opening, just so that it could build up the speed before it started running through the scoring in the track of the detent ball. And so gets plenty of speed, then it just slides through the scoring that I put in there. It's basically, you know, just kind of jimping on the face of the tang, and then the ball just rides through those and makes the sound. It's, of course, nothing functional. It's just, you know, cool to play with. I find myself flipping this knife so much, you know, figured I'd make it more fun. As far as the wave opening works amazing. There's a lot of videos out there, you know, showing some wave openings, but I would probably go to Jobin's video comparing the wave function of this knife versus a couple of the Emersons and a couple of the Spyderco Emerson combinations. And honestly, you know, you can see by his video that the wave placement on this blade, if done properly, is actually a lot more efficient than some of the production knives out there. You know, it comes with the shoulder. I wouldn't be surprised if they put that on there just for the purpose of being able to put a wave on there. You know, I don't know. I'm not the designer of the knife, but it is in the perfect position for the wave opening. And if you get them from Jobin, he'll, like I said, he'll put those in there for you. It's a good blade shape. It's not anything crazy. It's a good utilitarian knife. It's got very thick liners. Another thing I noticed was that the lock bar is itself, the little indent is a little farther up than a lot of the knives I've seen, and I'm not sure what kind of difference that makes. That was just something I noticed. I think it makes it a little, gives it some stiffness without taking away, you know, a lot of the strength. I think it'd be less likely to buckle in this position. I'm in no way an expert on anything like that, but I don't know. If you know anything about, you know, the placement of that, just leave a comment and let me know, you know, the difference you think that would make, because I'd like to know about that. Also, the lockup was pretty early when I got it. It was a little sticky, which kind of surprised me, but well, I don't know if I can get that to focus or not. Bring that out here. Yeah, the lockup was a little sticky. I'd never had one like that was just a liner lock that stuck like that, but it loosened right up. You know, it broke in really easily. This knife is new, about $16. You know, you can get this on AliExpress. If you get it from Jobin's channel, though, you get a lot of options on stuff that he'll do to it for you before you get it, and he's got some really good deals on his website. He'll put the phosphor bronze washers in there, and you know, he'll do a lot of cool stuff there to it for you. I've never really seen anybody do the sound, that, you know, the ratcheting modification to it, or to any knife really. That was just something that I kind of came up with on my own. I also put a little bit of jimping on top of the wave there, so it just kind of follows through. Not a whole lot. I mean, it's not going to make much of a difference, that little spot, but you know, I just figured I'd try it out. Overall, this is honestly my favorite EDC. This is a really great knife, great one to start out with, especially if you don't know a whole lot about knives, or if you just want to get a flipper. If you don't have any flippers, start with this one. Honestly, you know, I've never found one at this value that works so amazingly well. Oh, and the lockup is just solid, completely solid. I've never had any play in there. And one more thing about the pivot screw here. With the modification of the cut across the face of the pivot screw, just to make it adjustable with a flathead screwdriver, I opened the thing up and basically cleaned all the Loctite out of the connection, and because of that, once I got all the Loctite out, I can basically adjust this with my thumb. I'm adjusting it, you know, right now. I can loosen it up, and I mean, there's no really any reason to loosen it up because it's just so smooth. But I can crank down on it pretty good just with the pressure of my thumb, and I mean, I can get it super tight. And even with it pretty tight, you know, it still just flies right open. You know, of course you're going to get it tighter with a screwdriver, but you know, it's just when you cut that in there, the edges on it are sharp enough where it catches the meat of your thumb and just gives you that ability to tighten it and loosen it. You know, when you're working, you know, if you feel that it's loose, you can just tighten it right back up. You don't need any tools at all to do that. I've actually, you know, when I open the thing up to put the scoring across the detent ball track, I didn't use a tool for that. I honestly just took my thumb, got it started, and opened it all the way up, and popped the washers out and put it all back together. Didn't have to take the scales off or anything like that. The whole body of the knife basically stayed in one piece. Put that down because I just can't hold on to it and not play with it. So yeah, like I said, overall this is an awesome knife. Great one to start out with. It's got a 3.5 inch blade. I really don't know. I haven't looked at that. I know it's a little bit longer than the el01 that I've got. Did a video on. Hey guys, sorry about that. Ran out of room on my memory card and actually started getting rained on out there, so I had to bring it inside. Just talking a little bit about the length of the blade. It is longer than the el01, not by much. It's definitely a useful length. It's worked perfectly fine for everything I've needed to use it for. If you guys want to check out another review on this knife, check out Jay Davis's channel. He's got a bunch of reviews on his channel, and he's got a pretty extensive knife collection. He's got a bunch of higher end production knives, and I think he's got a couple of custom knives, so he definitely knows what he's talking about when he does the reviews on these things. So check out his review on this one. He's got a pretty favorable review on the knife. Another great thing about this knife is unlike a bunch of the other Chinese knives that come from the Sanrenmu type companies, this one is not really a copy of anything that I know of. A lot of them look like a couple of the Benchmades and even some of the Spydercos, but this one is definitely its own knife. It's an 8CR13 MOV blade. That is that's the same steel that Spyderco uses on their Tenacious, and I think on the Ambitious and a couple of the other lower end folders, but it's definitely a respectable steel. Other than that, you know, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, and hope to get some feedback from you. Thanks a lot. Bye.